Hey, friends, welcome back to the Well Done Women podcast. Today's episode is going to be all about your purpose, your calling. It's something that I love to talk about. It's something that I love to teach on. And the reason why I'm doing this podcast is because last week I had a coaching client and she was explaining to me how she feels that her day to day looks one of two ways. It looks like everything is important and everything has to be done now and everything is on her shoulders and everything feels like it's on fire and she can't grow anything in her life. And then she said the next day everything will just be a big blur. Like she doubts what she's called to do. She doesn't know what's next. She doesn't understand who she is, what her purpose in life is. I'm not laughing. It's just I have felt this too. She said that like she just feels like she's kind of floating and she feels forgotten by God. She feels like her life is not, or her work isn't meaningful. And she said she just goes from one day to the next feeling one of those two ways. Like she has to be all things to all people and do all the things in her life, in her business, in ministry, at church, in her community, at her kids' school. And then the next day everything is just a big blur. And she's like, what am I doing with my life? How am I supposed to craft my days? What's next for me? And so if you are feeling the way that she felt, the way that I know I have felt throughout my whole life, on and off, is either everything is important or nothing is important, then you're really going to love this episode. And it is going to hopefully give you the key on what to do and how to get off of that autopilot mode. And so that's what we're going to be teaching on today. That's what we're talking about today. And so hopefully you'll feel encouraged by the end of this episode. Before I dig in to what I want to teach you, I want to invite you, if you have questions or want to figure out what you're called to do, what your specific calling is, and you're done feeling like you're on autopilot, everything's blurry, nothing makes sense. If you're done feeling like that and you're done trying to find your calling or figure out your calling, I want to invite you to the Clarity in Your Calling Challenge. It is coming up in a couple weeks. You can sign up at welldonewomen.com/challenge, where I am going to walk you through my process on how to get clarity and confidence in who you are and what you're called to do, and what is the best business idea to help you align who you are and your calling and your purpose to a purpose-filled, profitable business. So I want you to join me in a couple weeks at the Clarity and Calling Challenge. Just sign up, welldonewomen.com/challenge. And it's going to be transforming. It's going to be life-changing. And I'm excited to work with those who are wanting to get serious about this. So head over to welldonewomen.com/challenge and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Okay. So when I was first starting out in my business, this was about 10 years ago. I knew that I was called to something. I knew that I was created for a bigger purpose. And I knew that I was tired of being broke. I knew that I wanted to start a business. And so one of the things that my husband told me was, hey, you have a camera. You could do this. Like you could take pictures of people. And so very long story short, I started a photography business and I grew it. And after about a year and a half of shooting full time and being a wedding photographer and portrait photographer, I got really ill while I was pregnant with Bonnie. I had to go on bed rest. And so the only thing that I knew to do was to teach my skill. Like I knew that I could teach online about photography and help women who were just like me, who were moms, who were tired of being broke, who wanted to use the camera they already had to make an income for their family. So my first online business was called Brittany Education. And so I taught regular women, moms, or, 9-to-5 workers, how to become professional photographers instead of momtographers or amateur photographers. And one of the first lessons that I taught them that blew their mind and changed the game, and the thing that turned them from amateur photographers to professional photographers was one lesson all about focus. It was all about your focus point, your focal point. And so I taught them how to turn off of auto. So if you have a DSLR, you know there's a little dial, and it's you can turn it from auto, which is what most everyone shoots in, auto mode. But when you're a professional photographer, you want to turn it from off of auto onto the M, which means manual mode. And whenever you're the photographer and you're shooting in manual mode, you decide what is in focus in the image. Because amateur photographers, they have either everything in focus, which means there's no focal point, everything is in focus, and the image looks like every other image. It could be like anybody took that picture. It looks like a regular image where every single thing is in focus, which is an uninteresting photo. Or everything is blurry, which is another sign that you're an amateur photographer. Everything is blurry, which means that you're a bad photographer if nothing is in focus. And so the thing that clicked for them to go from amateur photography to professional photography was taking it off of auto and onto manual, where they're able to put and maneuver their focal point, their focus, to whatever they wanted. And so some photographers, would focus on the people in the portrait, which is what portrait photographers do. But then other wedding photographers, if they wanted to get real creative, they would have something in the foreground. They would focus on whatever image. It could have been a bouquet, a bridal detail. And so whatever's in the front is blurry and whatever is behind is blurry. And it was a beautiful, professional looking photo. And so that was the thing that helped them go from everything's important, everything needs to have its spotlight, everything needs to be in focus, or nothing is in focus, everything is blurry, it's a terrible image, to a professional, beautiful photo. And I feel like that is the same thing when it comes to leadership, when it comes to business, when it comes to ministry, and when it comes to our calling in life, is that if we make everything the focus, nothing is in focus. Nothing's important. We don't know, our eyes literally don't know what to look at. And then same thing is true when nothing is important. When your focus is not on anything, then nothing is important and your focus is on anything. I think what God wants us to do is to identify what he's called us to do in this season, our assignment for today, and focus all of our time, our energy, our strengths, our giftings, our passion. We have to focus all of that on the one thing. And I think that's the biggest problem with new business owners or entrepreneurs who've been in the game for a long time. They get super duper distracted and they're trying to multitask everything. They're trying to be everywhere at all time. They're trying to reach everyone while scrolling, while comparing themselves to everybody else, while striving. And so what I want to encourage you to do is get off of the auto mode, get off of having everything important, doing all the things, being all the things, serving everyone, getting off of that auto mode and getting into the manual focus. And you ask God, what is the one thing that I need to focus on? What is my calling that I need to pour all of my energy to? And so if you look in scripture, I love Paul. Paul is the man, and he talks about focus quite often in his letters to the churches. In his letters to The Ephesians, he says in chapter 5, he says, don't live carelessly, unthinkingly. Make sure you understand what the master wants. I have to remind myself of this verse all the time because it's super uh it's a slippery slope, and it's super easy to get into living unthinkingly, to just going about our life. We're about to enter into the busiest season of the year, the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, all the things. And it would be super easy for me to get distracted, for me to think everything is important right now. And Paul's writing, hey, don't live that way. Don't live unthinkingly. Make sure you understand what the master wants. Now, I'm going to say this too. I believe the master, I believe our Father, I believe God Almighty, he wants us to enjoy our family. He wants us to enjoy the season. He wants us to enjoy the gifts that he has given us. But also, if you are on assignment, if he has given you a call and if he is sending you out, that is key. That is important. He wants us to live with intentional focus, not on spiritual autopilot. That's not what he wants. Another letter Paul wrote was to the church of Philippi. And he says, I'm focusing, this is Paul speaking, I'm focusing all of my energies on this one thing. I am focusing all of my energies on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what's ahead. Paul knew the secret to living a life on a purpose was focus. He mentions it here. He knows how easy it is for us to get distracted, for us to think that everything's important or nothing is important, or everything's in focus or everything is blurry. But I want to encourage you, and Paul wants to encourage you, that the key to truly living out a purpose-filled life is simply focus. Because it's not about doing more things. It's about doing what matters. It's about doing the one thing that God has called you to do, this is exactly why I'm offering this challenge, because I've sat with you and I've sat with thousands of women like you who have said, if I could just understand who I'm called to serve, what I'm called to do, what my purpose is in this life, then I could fill in the blank. Then I could live a peace-filled life. Then I could serve at the capacity that I want to serve. Like, this is the thing. And Paul is saying here that we have to not only understand it, but focus on it. And here are 3 things that focus can give us if and when we decide to stop living in autopilot. Number 1, focus gives clarity. When you stop letting distractions dictate your directions, you start seeing where God is leading. Focus gives you clarity. So if you are wanting that clarity, the confidence and the courage to move forward with the call in your life, step 1 is focus. Focus also brings peace, because when you're focused, you're not running around with a chicken with your head cut off. Like, you are able to walk slowly, intently, with focus. You're not putting everything as important to you. You are walking forward with focus, and that produces peace. So focus brings clarity, focus brings peace, and those are 2 things that I highly value in my life. And the other thing that focus brings is fruit. You will experience everything God has for you and everything he wants to do in you and through you when you're focused on Jesus and the assignment and the call that he has for your life. I'm pretty sure that this is what the world, humanity, truly wants. More than anything, more than success, more than fame, more than, becoming a billionaire, we want to experience the life that we were designed and created to live. We want to experience the living God and how he can work in us and the crazy things he can do through us. But that requires focus. So just want to encourage you, if you have felt overwhelmed, if you have felt exhausted, if you feel like you've just been running and running and you're just burnt out and tired, or if you feel like you've been constantly comparing yourselves to others, I want to encourage you and I want to remind you that you don't have to do it all. You don't have to do it all. You just need to focus on what God actually has called you to do and focus all of your energy on that one thing. And then trade your distracted life of saying, I could do this, I could do that, I could try that, I could follow this person, I could do this, I could do that. Stop saying I could and start saying, this is what I was created to do. And if you don't know what you were created to do yet, join me in this challenge. It's the easiest, simplest way that I could say this. I don't want you to be under my voice and listen to what I'm teaching and preaching over and have weeks and months and years go by without you doing the simple work of figuring out the call on your life and learning it, uncovering it, discovering it. It's one of my favorite things to see. Well, I just walked my coaching program, my coaching clients through yesterday. I just walked them through this, and the light bulb moments, the confirmations that they got when they walked through this framework of having clarity in your calling. It just, I felt like I was finally doing what I was called to do, seeing how they were lit up and something sparked inside of them. There was now this like burn and passion for them to go out and do and build this business that was uniquely designed for them and how they were created and designed. And so I hope you join me in this challenge. I hope this episode resonates with you, and I hope you decide to focus and stop running on autopilot and stop walking around with blurred vision, and you get crystal clear on who you are and what you were created to do. And so if you are a journaler or you want to reflect, here are some questions that you can kind of walk away with as we wrap up this episode. Just number one, get clear on what you've been focusing on lately. Ask yourself, what have I been focusing on lately? And if you don't know what that is, where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your thoughts? What are you watching? What are you consuming? What are you doing? Like, where has your focus been? And if you have 1,000 things written down, that might be the problem. You might be on the camp of the auto where everything's in focus, which means nothing is in focus. And so you also, if you have nothing written down, you might be on the other side where everything's blurry. I haven't been focusing on, I haven't been doing anything. I've been waiting. I've been sitting. I haven't been doing because I don't have my next steps. I might have, where you're just, everything feels foggy and blurry. So be honest with yourself and figure out where you are. What have you been focusing on lately? And then how has it made you feel? If the thing that you've been focusing on has not been feeling like you are flying and you have peace and you have passion and you are excited to do it, I would argue now is the time to refocus on something else, right? We know what it feels like, or I hope you do. If you know what it feels like to feel like you're living in your sweet spot, where you feel like when you hit something, the ball flies, right? Like you feel like you are living in your sweet spot. That's what I want for you. And that is my hope for you as you join me in this challenge. The third question you can ask, so what have you been focusing on? How has it made you feel? What's one simple way you can shift your focus back to Jesus and what He has called you to do. What is one simple shift? This might be delete social media. This might be quit the 47 task bars on your computer. This could be scaling back on what you're doing. This could be putting something on hold for this season as you refocus back on the call in your life. Like I had a student who she is a single woman, so she doesn't have a spouse, a mom, like she doesn't have help. And so she told me, she's like, Brittany, I don't have just constant help that I can push stuff off to people. Like I'm a single woman. And so what would you suggest? And so something that we talked about was just taking things off of her plate just for this season as she gets things going with the call in her life. And so I don't know if that's where you're at right now, where you just need to kind of scale back, pull back on areas you've been putting your focus in, your time in, just for the next couple months, just for the season, until you get clarity, you get a rhythm, you get focus back, you get your passion back, you are sent out, you're doing the work that God's called you to do. Maybe that's just one simple thing that can change and shift your focus back this week. So, focus. That is the key to living a life of purpose. And I'm hoping and praying that this one simple shift changes the game for you, your family, the people you're called to, and generations forever and ever, because you decided to make a change today. So I hope you take me up on the Clarity in Your Calling Challenge. I think this is going to be a transformative week for so many of you. It has helped so many people so far, and I'm excited to work with you for 5 days. I'm excited to be your coach for 5 days. 5 days. We're going all in. We're taking 50 years of wandering around. We're condensing it into 5 days to get cleared in your calling and figuring out the best business idea that aligns with you so that you can love people, serve people, and change lives. That's my mission, and that's what I want for you too. So I love you guys. If this episode was helpful for you, please share it on social media. Let me know in the Well Done Women Facebook community or on Instagram if this resonated at all. I would love to hear from you. Share it with a friend, share it with a family member, share it with a coworker, if you think that it would be helpful and a blessing to them. So I love you guys. Remember to always love people, serve people, and change lives.